Hi and welcome to PowerEgg. This is another PowerEgg tutorial on Microsoft Fabric, and in this tutorial we are going to build two end-to-end solutions. One a Lakehouse solution with Power BI connected to it, and a warehouse solution with Power BI connect to it as well. One has the direct lake connection, the other one has the direct query connection. We're going to model the data in each of these warehouses. We're going to use the SQL endpoint as well in the Lakehouse, not only to model the data, but also to create a view. And we're going to see how great views are for data distribution. And then we're going to create a Power BI dataset. We have the default Power BI dataset, but we're going to create another Power BI dataset for better control of data and better governance. And then we're going to connect Power BI to it. For the warehouse solution, we're going to do the same thing. We're also going to create a view. This we can do directly in the warehouse, and then we're going to create a Power BI dataset from that data, which has the direct query connection, but Power BI has the ability to connect directly to the warehouse. So we're going to do that instead of connecting to a dataset, which is the direct query connection, and we're going to compare both. So let me show you what we're going to build. So this right here is the end solution. On the left hand side, you can see we have hundreds of millions of rows of data. And on the left hand side, we have the Lakehouse connection. And what we're doing here is, if I zoom in a bit, you can see that we have a column chart. And this column chart shows on one hand side the percentage of the total amount of records in the order details table that are categorized as a low profit margin. Then we have the same thing for the medium profit margin, and then for the high profit margin. And on the right hand side we have the same thing. However, it is the data warehouse connection. So we have direct query on the right hand side. On the left hand side we have direct lake connection. And you can also see that I made a lookup on hundreds of millions of rows of data on the bottom right card. This isn't the new card yet, sorry about that, but I will use the new card that's been available just recently. And this one right here shows a lookup value on a specific order key and a product key. So I have a lookup value on two columns. And we can see that the profit margin for that order detail value line, is 54%. On the right hand side, we have the same thing, but I didn't create the measure in Power BI like on the left hand side. On the right hand side, I created it in the warehouse. And we're also going to compare the experience of that. I have to say I prefer creating the measures in Power BI. At the moment, but I'll tell you why later. But anyways, and then we have a total number of rows. So let's compare the load time of both of these. I'm going to click refresh on the left one, and I'm going to click refresh on the right one as quickly as possible, and we're going to see which one is faster. All right, so let's go. Okay, it was more or less at the same time. Okay, we have something strange happening on the left side. So, yeah, okay. On the left hand side, these are hundreds of millions of rows of data, right? So, this is quite cool. Okay, I'm refreshing this for the first time today. So it's taking a bit longer because there was nothing saved in memory. So once this has loaded and I would hit refresh again, it would be a lot faster, right? So as I said, we're doing like quite a lot of we have a lot of rows of data, and we're doing some queries, some complex calculations on it. And I wanted to see if there are any limitations, right? Because with previously, so I don't know, it was more or less at the same time. But so I personally have to say, when I tried to refresh this, it was it loaded at the same time. But what's pretty clear is that the measure on the right-hand side that I created in the warehouse itself loaded faster than the one I created, the lookup value I created in Power BI on the left-hand side. So that's something to look out for. If I would refresh now again, so if I do this again now, it will be faster because some of these values are already saved. There's more in, yeah, you can see it's cached, I think. So yeah, you can see now it like literally just does the calculation. So now it's much faster. Anyways, these are the two solutions we're going to build. I'm also going to, so we're going to build the whole thing, right? We're going to build a lakehouse. We're going to load the data into the lakehouse. So let me show you this as well. I'm going to go to my workspace in the list view, and I'm going to filter by, I'm going to sort by endorsement. So because I endorsed all of the things we're going to build in this tutorial, so these are all of the things. We have the report, the Lakehouse report. We have the Contoso warehouse report. We have the default Contoso warehouse dataset. We have the Contoso warehouse. Then we have a Contoso Lakehouse dataset. We have the Contoso Lakehouse SQL point, and we have the Lakehouse itself. Then I created another Lakehouse, a measures Lakehouse, to show you what it looks like if we create a shortcut from Lakehouse to Lakehouse, because I created the Lakehouse initially. So let's have a look at the Contoso Lakehouse. Oh, sorry, this was the, oh yeah, this was the right one. So we can see here, this is the data we're going to load. These are all of the files. I got these files from GitHub. I'm going to give credit to the person in the description where I got the data from. But because this is from GitHub, I think there's a file limit size. So all the orders and the order details table we have to transform, right? So we're going to do a transformation with the data flow. From here, we're creating the tables. For the other files, it's actually pretty easy. For example, for data customer, you can just click here and you can click load to tables, okay? The only problem is in the Lakehouse, the tables do not accept spaces in the naming. So for the columns as well, right? So if you have source data that has spaces in the column names, you're going to have to transform that data before loading it, because otherwise, if you click this, it's going to give you an error, right? And then you can also see we have a Contoso measures table. This is an empty table. I couldn't create this in the Lakehouse, so I created this in the warehouse. And this is going to be used to create our measures, because in Power BI, we usually create a measures table just to be able to order our measures, to sort our measures, to be organized, to have them in one place. And then within that measure table in Power BI, you can create folders and organize them even further. But here, if I look at the SQL point, so on the top right here, we can change from Lakehouse to the SQL point of the Lakehouse. And you can see here, once it's going to load, just give it a second, that I have the tables, and I also have a view, right? So I'm going to click on view. And this is something we can create in the SQL endpoint. And here I can also create measures. So for the measure table, I could click here, new measure, and I could create a new measure. However, there are limitations to creating measures in the SQL endpoint and as well in the warehouse. The experience is not as good as in Power BI. So I also didn't like the fact that if you create a measure here, you can't see what calculation is within that measure in Power BI. And I want to give the data analyst as much freedom as possible with the data, or to be able to also fully document what he or she is doing. And if I'm going to give them a measure that doesn't show anything and without being able to format it correctly, because later they cannot edit that measure, they cannot format it, they can't do anything with it. So I decided I'm just going to stick with the empty measures table here that's going to load into the dataset. And then once I wanted to create a computed column or calculated column in an aggregated view, I created a sales aggregate table. And this is going to give a few seconds. So like I said, these are hundreds of millions of rows. And you can see here, I added the profit category column on the right that's categorizing the profit into a group. Yeah, and if we can here see the TSQL, we are also going to create this for the view, right? And in this case, I have alter view. If I would create a new view, I would just click here and replace this with create view. And we did the same thing. And that is the cool thing about Fabric, is that we can do the same thing in the warehouse. So if I go back to the workspace and I go to the warehouse quickly, I'm going to show you that as well, the Contoso warehouse. Oh, sorry, this is the, oh no, this is the fine one. You can see here that, yes, I have also the tables, but the tables are named differently. And what I had to do here, because I couldn't rename the table, because there are limitations here, okay? So I tried to use the RP rename, I think, execute RP rename or RP name function in TSQL. That didn't work. I didn't manage to get that work. I tried to use rename object. I also couldn't do that. So I was left with having to create views and hiding all of these tables for the Power BI user. And this worked brilliantly. In fact, I actually now would tend to say create views, because as far upstream as possible, if you create views and tables, aggregated tables, all kinds of things here, you can also then, like as you can see, I have the view measures, it's an empty table. And I have the aggregate view. Yeah, you can see here I also used the same TSQL code. I can just do the same thing, but if we click on model, this looks a bit messy, but you can see here that we have two star schemas. On the left hand one, we have the one with the original data, which I didn't actually have to do, but I did anyways, because on the right hand side I did the same thing with the views. You can model the views, and what you model here is what's going to end up in the data set. And then in the Power BI data set, you can see the same model, so you can see the star schema, and you can't edit anything anymore in Power BI on that star schema. Yeah, so you can't create any more calculated columns, anything like that. You have to be aware of that. So we are building a complete end-to-end solution, and we're going to have the reports in the end, and we're going to compare both the Lakehouse with the warehouse. But we're also going to see, or I came to the conclusion that you can't really say it's Lakehouse versus warehouse. I found that they work brilliantly together as a solution. And in fact, if you have moving data in your Lakehouse, if your Lakehouse has a lot of shortcuts to other data sources where there's constantly moving data, and where there's data that maybe historically can change, maybe it's a CRM system where things can be edited, you can go back and you can edit stuff. Imagine anything like that can happen. You can make corrections or anything like that. For the financial department, that is difficult to analyze. So you could use the Lakehouse to have all these kinds of moving data, and for the month closing, you just create like a copy of that data into the warehouse, and you append it to a table, an existing table, or you create a new one. You can create views for that specific month for the finance department to use. So that would be, for example, a situation I could think of. So yeah, like I said, we're going to build this end-to-end solution, but we're going to see them work together. All right. So yeah, make sure you subscribe and to turn on your notifications to stay up to date with all the tutorials I'm going to create. I'm going to create more. And in this tutorial right now, we are going to build these two solutions. This might take a bit of time, but we're going to build the whole thing. I'm also going to make the data I'm using available in the description below, and also a link to the account I got it from. All right, so you can actually recreate this whole thing, and you can follow the steps, and you will have the same solution as me. So let's go. Okay, so just before we get started, I have one more thing to show you. We are also going to build this. This is a third report, and in this report, we are combining the Lakehouse data model with the warehouse data model. And we're going to test what it's like to load a view compared with a base table from that warehouse, but with a calculated column. Now, the problem is that normally with the direct lake connection or the warehouse connection, we cannot create calculated columns, and we cannot create calculated tables, and we cannot format the measures that are coming from the warehouses or the data sets. However, if we look at this report right here, and I click on a table, you can see that I have all the table settings enabled, and I even was able to create, so right here on the right, so this is another report page, I was able to create field parameters. Okay, so right here at the bottom right, we can see we have a field parameter table. This is, I'm doing field parameters on hundreds of millions of rows of data. So this is a relatively large data model, and I don't have any limitations. Okay, and the way to enable this was to go to the Lakehouse connection and to transform the data, and then to change to a local model. And when you change to a local model, it enables all your settings. And I was even able to look, if we look at the data model here, I was even able to add a second data model. So right here we have the Lakehouse data model on the top left, and on the bottom right we have the warehouse data model. And then if we look here at the report, I created, because all the options were enabled, I created a calculated column in the warehouse base table, and I compared it to the view of the warehouse. And I wanted to see how fast this is. So let me go to the browser and let's compare the speed of these two, of this solution, and you will be surprised, because look how fast the calculated column is on the right hand side compared to the view. Yeah, did you see that? I did refresh this today already, but the first time I refreshed it, it was already faster. So the calculated column on the base table is faster than the view, I have to say. That's at least from what I got right now. So let's get started and build these solutions. All right, okay, so to get started, we are in Fabric. So just go navigate to Fabric Service or powerbi.com or whatever. And we can go to the workspaces. So we click on workspaces and we add a new workspace. And right now I'm going to name this Contoso demo workspace. And we're going to turn, we have to make sure this is a Fabric workspace. I'm going to go to the large dataset storage format, and we're going to click apply. All right. And this will create the workspace. So first step is done. Next, we have to click on new at the top left and click on show all, because we do not see all of the preview features here. So we have to click on show all to see all of the options. And we create a lakehouse. So to get data into one lake, we can use a lakehouse or the KQL warehouse, but we're going to use the lakehouse, and we're going to call this Contoso demo lakehouse, no spaces. We're going to click create, and this is going to create the lakehouse. And in this lakehouse now, we can click on get data and upload files. Okay, and right now here I'm going to add all of the files that we are getting from GitHub. Okay, so these are all of the Parquet files. We're just gonna upload them all, and I mean every single file, including, so if we have the order rows, we upload all the files, because this is the order row table, the order details table, broken up into several files, and we're gonna have to combine that. So I'm going to add all the files here, and I'm going to click upload. Okay, so I have all the files. I'm going to click upload, and now it's going to start. It's firing up and it's gonna start uploading all of these files. And this is gonna take a while. So I'm gonna pause the video and I will come back after this has loaded. All right. All right, so all the files have uploaded. As you can see here, we have all the Parquet files on the right-hand side. Everything was successful. So the next thing that we do is we go to the Contoso Lakehouse, we go back and we click on files. And then we can see all of the Parquet files, okay? So now we have to transform this data, because if I, for example, if I try to load this to a table, so if I go to the data store Parquet file and I click load to tables, it's going to give me an error because in the data store files, so let's click this, let's just name this whatever. It's going to give me an error because in the column, in the field names, I have spaces. And this is not allowed, right? So you can see here invalid column names, and you can see here the store code, and you can see here there are spaces, okay? So we have to transform this data. And the way to transform the data is to go back to the workspace. So we click on the left here on the navigation, we can click on the workspace, and then we click on new, and then we click on show all, so that we can get to the Gen 2 data flow, okay? So here we are in the data factory, and we're going to click on data flow Gen 2, and we're going to click on to create a new data flow. And for the first data flow, we are going to do the easy part. We are just going to copy the tables, the Parquet files to the tables without any transformation. So the only thing we're going to do is to create the tables from the Parquet files in the Lakehouse and to rename those field names, okay? So we go to enter get data, click on more, and then we have the Microsoft Fabric preview. We click on Lakehouse, and then we click next. So you have to make sure your connection credentials are okay, and then we go to the workspace that we want. We flip this open, and then we go to the demo Contoso demo Lakehouse workspace, and we go to files, right? And in the files, you can see here we can select multiple files, and we could select all of them. We could do everything at once in one data flow, but in case there are any errors, I want to keep this neat and stay organized, so I'm going to create separate workflows for each type of transformation that they do, okay? So I'm going to select so look, I'm going to select the currency exchange, the customer, the date table, the geolocations, and then the product table and the store table, okay? And these are the ones we're going to use first. So we're going to click create. This is going to automatically create the query for us to reach out to those Parquet files. And all we have to do now is we can of course rename these tables the way that we want, but I'm going to show you in Lakehouse we can actually just rename the tables really easily by clicking the rename table. And so everything here, just give it a bit of time and everything will be loaded. So now we have to add a data destination. We can either do this on the top here, or we can go to the bottom right and click add destination. Then we go to the Lakehouse. We click next, and all we have to do now is to go to the workspace again and to select the Lakehouse, okay? And we can the name of this table here, we have to do this for every single table. The name of this table will be whatever, right? Because I'm gonna rename this afterwards, okay? I'm gonna show you that we can rename the Parquet files in the Contoso in the Lakehouse. So no problem, we just click next. We want to do this as quickly and as efficiently as possible. We're going to click replace. So you can see here in this table there were no spaces in the names, so that was fine. We click replace in case we want to replace data in the future, and we're going to do the same thing for the next. Okay, so we have to do this for every single table. Otherwise, there's no destination. Otherwise, it's not going anywhere. Right? We have to set the source and we have to set the destination. Now again, we flip this open and we choose the Lakehouse. We click next. Okay, and you can see here we have a problem. The birthday is date time zone. So we click on save settings. It's going to suggest to change, but it's fine at the moment. So we click next table. I'm going to click add destination. We're going to keep doing this for all of the tables. All right. So I'm going to click next. I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to do it one more time. And for the next two, I'm going to pause the recording and I'm going to finish it up. Okay. So again, we choose the Contoso demo workspace. We have to make sure that it's so if you want to move data from workspace to workspace, it's this could be a way, because as a destination we can choose a different workspace. So let me choose this and click next, and you can see here there are spaces. All right, and there are spaces in the names, and they support they have unsupported characters. Should we fix them for you? And normally it's really difficult to change the column names all at once in query editor or in the data flow. So this is really cool. We can just click fix and it automatically replaces the characters. So this is a great function that that is available in Fabric. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing with the other three, and I will continue recording once I'm finished. Okay, so the data flow actually runs the queries even if a previous query failed, if it's not connected. So they run. So it's really cool. Like we can do many things at the same time. So I could now do the union of the other tables here and enrich the order details table all in one go. But as I said, I want to keep this organized, and in case anything fails, I want to have a nice overview of it and see what exactly happened. So I'm going to click. So now we're going to click publish. Do note that we cannot rename the data flow right now. Okay, so this is called data flow 1. And I didn't find a way yet to rename this before uploading it. So now if we click publish, it's going to publish to the workspace and it's also going to refresh. So it's also going to execute. All right. So right now you can see right here we have this data flow 1 and it's executing, and I can't rename this. Okay. So we have to be a little bit careful because I'm going to create now a new data flow. So we click on show all again, and then we create a Gen 2 data flow. And right now we're going to create the data flow that has the union, that creates the union of the other tables, of the Parquet files. So let's click on add data and more. Let's go to Microsoft Fabric and on Lakehouse again. We click next. And now on the Contoso demo workspace, we're going to flip this open, and in the Lakehouse, so if we click on the Lakehouse, it will open up and we have the access to the files, right? And right here, right now, I'm going to choose all the order rows, the orders table first. Okay, so first we're going to do orders and then we're going to do order details. So let's select all of the orders. Okay, there are 8 of them, I think. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 2, 8. Okay, perfect. So we have to make sure we select 1 through 8. We click create. And the cool thing is when you create the union, so right now it's going to load all the tables. So this will take a little bit longer because these are a little bit larger. So this will first recognize it as a binary file and then it will transform it into a table. All right. So what we first here get is we get 0 and 1s, and now it will slowly do the same thing with all of the other files. It will recognize them and now you can see it already is showing me the data, but it doesn't yet recognize it as a table. So to be able to do all of this stuff, we have to wait for it to be recognized until a table. This takes a little while. And we're going to do another data flow later, and with the order details table, and we're going to enrich that table. So you can see right now it's recognizing them as tables, so that's perfect. All the ones and zeros are going away. If, and this is happening right now, if you still have ones and zeros showing up after it finished loading, which happened right now, click on it. Okay, right now it's working, but what you can do is you can click on it and then you can refresh. And if you refresh, it will recognize it as a table, okay? So this is sometimes, I don't know if I would have waited long enough, it would have happened, but this definitely made it more efficient, okay? So right now we have the data orders table, and I'm going to rename this table. I'm going to call this orders. And with this orders table, I'm going to append. Okay, so we on the home ribbon, we're going to click append queries. We're going to click the and we're going to click append queries. All right, and then we're going to click 3 or more tables because we want to append all of them. And we're going to click, we can double click or we can click add. So I'm gonna double click, it's faster. So we can double click on orders 2, make sure this is in the right order, because for sorting purposes, it might be useful for default sorting. And then you click OK. All right. And now it's going to create. And do note, so right now it's creating the union, or it's appending all the tables. And like I said, do note that right here in this table, we do not have a destination, all right? So here there's, on these tables, there's no destination defined. So they are not loading anywhere. They're not going anywhere. What's going to load is the orders table when I define a destination, okay? So right now I'm going to click on destination. I'm going to click Lakehouse. Click next. And now I'm going to choose the demo workspace again. And I'm going to choose the Lakehouse, and the table name is orders. In this case, we named it already because I want to have a nice name. Why not? And you can see here again, order date, delivery date, and currency code have spaces in them. So we're going to click fix it. This is really important, otherwise it doesn't work. Click fix it, and then click save settings. Okay. And this is data flow 2. So this is the union of the orders table, and we're going to click publish. And this is going to run this data flow. And now we are back in the workspace. We have 2 data flows running, and we're going to fire up a 3rd data flow. So we're going to click on new, show all, so that we have all the data. We want to be as efficient as possible. So click on data flow gen 2 again. Right, and the more often we do this, the better we get at it. So let's again click on get data, more, Microsoft Fabric preview, Lakehouse, click next, wait for the workspaces to load, open up the workspace, open up the Lakehouse, go to files. You can see there are already some tables loaded into it, so that's good. And this time we're going to select all of the order rows. Okay, so all of these files. These are a lot. Order, everything that says order rows. Okay, this is the orders detail table. So this is where all the line items for the rows are, for where each product and the quantity for each for the orders is listed. And these are 19 files. Okay, we're going to upload these. Click create. Not upload, sorry, we're going to transform these. But we're not just going to transform them, all right? We're also going to enrich them. I'm going to pause the recording until it's done. All right, as you can see, everything loaded except the first one. It's still not recognized as a table, so I'm going to refresh this. Okay, perfect. And then here we have a question mark and the 15th. So Let's refresh this as well and get rid of the question mark. Okay, perfect. Now we can rename the first one. I'm going to call this order, oops, no spaces. Remember, Lakehouse doesn't like them. Then on order details, we click append query again, append queries, 3 or more tables. And then we start with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we go up 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 tables. Okay, perfect. We're going to click OK. And the idea is to append these, yes, and to load it into one table. But I'm also missing some data here, okay? So I'm gonna click on add column, custom column. So again, you go to add column on the ribbon, you click on custom column, you rename this total cost, total price. Oh, no spaces, I forgot. Total price. And we're gonna do quantity times unit price. Okay. And we're gonna click OK. We're gonna create another custom column. So on add column, let's click another custom column. And this one is total cost. Oh, no spaces, I forgot. Again, total cost. And on this one, we want quantity times unit cost, okay? And let's click OK for that. Perfect, so we have the total price, the total cost. So now we can create another custom column, which is the profit margin. And the profit margin, we're going to, we're going to take the total price less the total cost, and we're dividing it by the total price. And this should give us the profit margin. Okay, perfect. And I don't need that many. So on transform, we can change this. So we're going to click on data type, and I can actually select percentage here. So I'm going to click on percentage. Okay, so I can already format this here. This is pretty cool. And I can format these two also to be decimal numbers. Perfect. And now we have enriched our data. And so let's choose a destination for this. I'm going to choose the Lakehouse connection again, as usual, for the initial transformation of the data. And we go to the Contoso. We already have a name for the table, order details, that's good. I'm going to choose the Lakehouse, and I'm going to click next. And then again, we have some fixing to do. I'm going to click fix it. I'm going to click save settings. And now, if we go, we should click publish, right? So let's click publish. Let's get this started up. And let's have a look at the other. Okay, so the data flow 1 has run successfully. There's no error, so we can rename this. Okay, so I'm going to click edit. No, I'm going to click settings. No, wait, my bad. I need to rename this. Edit? Yes, edit. Okay, fine. I think properties was the right one. Anyways, in edit we can do it as well. And I'm going to, which is nice because then we can see what we're doing here. And we can rename this, and this one is called data flow. So it's nice to also name what it is in the title. Copy Parquet to tables in Lakehouse, and oh sorry, Lakehouse, and no transformation. So honestly, you can name it what you want. And I'm just going to click away anywhere, okay? And don't click publish again, otherwise it's going to run again. And then we can just click here on the top. We can go back to the, oh, sorry, my bad. We have to close this on the top right. So if we are in the, if we open up the data flow, then do not click to get away from here. We cannot click somewhere else. We have to click on the top right on the X, okay? And then click yes, we are sure to exit. Okay, and now you can see this is renamed. So if you want to rename it again, I think in the properties, yes, in the properties, you can click on the properties and then you can just name it here, which is much better. Okay, so my way was the wrong way. Okay, so now we have all the data flows running. Let's have a look at the Lakehouse. Let's have a look how it is already. So you can see in the tables, we have 6 undefined, okay? Don't worry about this, okay? This is currently still undefined. The Lakehouse is still transforming this, okay? So it will be a table. Just give it some time. Okay, perfect. And what I did now was I clicked here on the top left. I clicked refresh. And when I clicked refresh, it already recognized everything as a table, all right? So you can see here we have the first tables and we can rename them. So let's click here on the 3 dots and we can just rename it, okay? And we can say this is called currency. And this is pretty nice because this is very fast and this is a very nice interface to rename stuff. So let's just rename these, and it's definitely faster than doing it anywhere else. So we have the dates, then we have the geolocations. So I'm gonna rename this geography. And then we have the product. I'm gonna rename this product. All right, and look how fast this was. And we have everything store. We have everything nice and neat, okay? So now we are missing the measures table. So to create the measures table, we have to create a blank table. And I want to create the measures table because in Power BI, I want the measures table. I want the data analyst to be able to organize their measures. And because if we create a direct lake connection, they cannot create a table. And if we create a warehouse connection as well, they cannot create a table. As I showed you before, there's a workaround that we will do later. But for now, we're using the default setup. And in this setup, we have to respect the fact that a direct lake connection is not going to be editable, okay, by the data analyst. So we need a blank table for measures. And we cannot create this, or I didn't manage to create this in the Lakehouse. So I'm going to go back to the workspace and I'm going to click new, click show all again. And we're going to create a warehouse. So here, data warehouse preview. And we're going to name this Contoso demo warehouse. Okay, I probably should have named this warehouse Contoso demo. So I have the name in the beginning, but what's done is done. And now it's going to create the warehouse. This will be quite quick as usual in Fabric. Everything is quick. So it's nice to have something as smooth as Fabric. So yeah, like I said, it's here already. So we go in schemas and we don't have a schema yet, a DBO schema. So we're going to click new schema, create schema, DBO, and we're going to click run. Oops. Okay, I don't have permission to do. Okay, so let's not do this. I wanted to. Okay, let's wait for the. Yes, let's actually wait for the data flows to finish, And then let's create the measures table, because I'm missing the schema right now because I don't have the data in here. And once I add the data and I create the schema, I can go to the schema, I can create a blank table. And we're going to see this later, okay? So right now I'm gonna pause the recording again. And as you can see here, there are still 2 data flows running, and we're just gonna wait until they are finished. Oh, and if you want to monitor your data flow, you can either go to, there's a monitoring hub, but you can also click on the 3 buttons, click on refresh history, and then you can click on the start time, and then you can see that currently there's everything succeeded, okay, yes, and it is currently creating the orders union, okay? And we can do the same thing with the data flow 3, the big one with the transformation. We can click on it and we can see it is also running the big query still, okay? So I'm gonna continue recording once this is finished. Okay, so we have successfully run this flow, both of them, the data flow 2 and the data flow 3. So now we have to rename these. So the best option to do this is to go to extended settings and to go to properties and to rename it here. And in this case, we're going to call it data flow. But this data flow is a orders, and it is Parquet to table transformation. All right, and we're going to copy this name. We're going to click save, and we're going to rename the other one as well, so properties, and we're going to rename this order details, Parquet to table transformation. All right, so we are nice and neat, and we have everything in a good overview. So let's look at what actually happened. Let's click on filter, let's go to the Lakehouse, and let's go to the demo Lakehouse we created, and let's see. Okay, so we have unidentified, so let's refresh this. Okay, perfect, and we can see we have all the tables that we wanted. We have orders, so let's have a look at orders. Perfect, this looks good. And now let's have a look at the order details. And the order details we should see, okay, perfect. We can also see that the so the formatting we did in the transformation in the data flow doesn't really matter because it treats it differently in the Lakehouse anyways. Okay, so I did it anyways, but I guess we don't need to do it. So what's left to do now is to copy this data to the warehouse we have already. So let's go back to the workspace. And the reason we're doing this now is so that we can do other stuff while this is running already. Because we have the Lakehouse ready, we can go to the SQL endpoint and we can already create the view. And we can already model it while the data is being copied from the Lakehouse to the warehouse, all right? So let's create a new pipeline. Okay, we're gonna go on new, show all, and we're gonna choose data pipeline. And we're going to call this copy tables from Lakehouse, LH, to warehouse. Okay, I'm going to click create. We should get a prompt now, a pop-up window that allows us to select multiple tables if we're lucky. I think multiple files work, but let me check if multiple. So let's click copy data, and we want the Lakehouse. So here we have Lakehouse. We can also search Lakehouse to be sure, and we get the Lakehouse in the workspace. So this only works in the same workspace. We click next, and we select our existing Lakehouse. We click next, and now we can select our tables. Right, and it says tables. Okay, yes, perfect. So I can select multiple tables. This is beautiful, so we don't have to do it each individually. We can click next, and then we want to have it go to the warehouse. So we're going to click data warehouse. If you haven't created a data warehouse yet, you have to create one before, so make sure you have that created. We click next and we select the data warehouse. This is the Contoso demo warehouse I created earlier. I'm going to click next again, and now we're going to load new table. Okay, and we're going to have to do this for each one. So DBO currency is fine, DBO customer is fine. Okay, and this is what I meant. This is going to automatically fill the DBO schema, and then in the DBO schema it's visible, we can create the measures table. All right, so the orders detail as well, and everything is perfect. Okay, this is in good shape. So let's click next and enable staging. Yes, click next, and we want to start the transfer immediately. Yes, let's do it. Okay, perfect. So if we click on output, hold on, we have to click OK. There's a prompt because this is a for each loop, okay, that automatically gets created. So we only have one activity, which is amazing. So we don't have to copy each time individually. Okay, and we can, I think, now leave this area. This is in progress. And we can go to the, so on the left, you can see here I have shortcuts already because I visited them recently. But let's go back. Let's go to the top here. Let's go back to the workspace. Yes, we can leave. Perfect. And let's go to the Lakehouse. And let's create that. Let's go to the Lakehouse. Perfect. And we go to the SQL endpoint. So let's click SQL endpoint. And let's see if we can create a new view. So let's go on views. We don't have anything. So we create a new view. So SQL new view. And this will automatically give me some code. It just runs basically a query. But I'm going to copy paste an SQL I've prepared. Okay, so I copy pasted this, and this is the create view. This is going to be called sales aggregated view. And we have that here. All we have to do is enter the from table, and this is going to be the orders details table. So we can just drag and drop this right here, and it will automatically do it. Let's see if this runs. If not, I have to debug this. Okay, it ran successfully. That was fast. So let's refresh this and let's have a look at it. So you can just freeze the screen and copy this SQL if you want. If you don't know TSQL, don't worry about it. There's lots of tools out there to help you write TSQL. So that's no problem. Okay, so let's let this run. This will be a few seconds to have a look at the view to see if this is what we want. This is going to be, these are going to be less rows than in the orders details table because this is an aggregated view, right? So it's going to be different. And yes, it ran. And yes, we have a profit category. So this is what I wanted. I wanted it to look at the profit and to look at the profit category. Let's have a quick look at the SQL query. And what we do is here we select, we group based on the order key and product key, and we take the average of these three values, and then we have a case statement for a new column, basically a computed column that has a case statement. And yeah, here you can see it's grouped by, so it works. But I'm not the best at TSQL, and so whatever, you can use it. You can write your own. All the freedom here. This is where you can go crazy, right? You can write best SQL you've ever written here if you want. There's no boundaries there. Okay, so we have the sales aggregated view, and I want the same view in the warehouse, but we have to wait for the data to be copied. So at the moment, there's not much left to do except modeling the Lakehouse. So we can already model this. So let's click on model. And I have to warn you, the modeling experience is not the greatest yet, because every time you create a connection, the warehouse refreshes the Lakehouse, sorry, the SQL endpoint, right? And when it refreshes, it moves stuff around. It also refreshes the view. And in between that refresh time, you can't create another relationship. Otherwise, you will get an error. So if you try to create two relationships one after the other really quickly before there's a refresh interval between, you will get an error. And in the warehouse, I actually have to refresh the entire page between each relationship I create for it to work. All right. So let's go find the orders table. Perfect. And let's create the connection between order key, between the orders table and the orders detail table using order key relationship. This is a many-to-one relationship, and we want a single direction. Let's confirm this. And we're going to build a star schema, right? So look, right now, I have to basically either refresh it or wait. But let's say, yeah, you see it refreshes, and I have to wait. And now I can create the next relationship. So the next relationship would be the sales aggregated view, which is the view. I also want the order key relationship. So let's create that. Let's see if it works. Yes, it does. So now we wait again for it to refresh. Okay, just give it a second. It will happen. I'm sure of it. I think. Okay. I'm worried that if I create a relationship now, it will. Okay, so let's try anyways. Let's do product with the aggregated view. No, let's try product with the orders details view. So product key with product key from product to orders detail. Let's see if it works. Without the refresh prompt, yes it does, perfect. So the experience is already better than last time I tried it. And now we need the dates. Oops, it refreshed, okay. So now I need the dates table to be connected to the orders table. I'm going to use the date to the order date. I'm not going to make this active because I'm gonna create another relationship between the delivery date, so that the data analyst can create a measure and they can choose which relationship they want. All right. So wait for the refresh. All right. And now I'm gonna use, so wait, which one did I take? I took order date, so I'm gonna take delivery date. I'm gonna do it with date as well, many-to-one. Perfect. Oops, I made this active, so I have to make this inactive. Okay, perfect. And now we have, let it refresh. Now we have store, and the store is the store key from orders table. We connect it to the store key from the store. We confirm. Okay, now we can kind of make this a bit prettier. So let me make this bigger and let me shape this up a bit. Every time I make a change it refreshes though, that's the problem. So we have orders, order details below it. Then we have the aggregated view on the left. We have the store on the right. We have the dates. I usually like to have them on the top. And now we have customer left. So let's zoom in again. And we need customer key with customer key from orders. And let's confirm this as well. And this is an active relationship. Now we have geography. To be honest, like at this stage, I'm gonna skip this. Okay, we have currency. We can do currency as well. So when it says currency code, we can use currency code and we do from currency. Okay, so that way the data analyst is able to convert it. We can set that up as well for later. And now if we zoom out, oops, that was a bit too much. Okay, let's let it refresh. If we zoom out a bit, perfect. Yeah, we have everything except geography. And I'm gonna hide geography. I don't want geography right now. So we can just click on the hide symbol, and this way it's hidden from the default data set. All right, this is what's going to happen. So if we click on, right now the Lakehouse is basically ready. It's ready for consumption. Okay, so we can start and we can click on reporting and we can click automatically update dataset. Okay, just in case it's gonna update the dataset, and then we can manage default Power BI dataset. Okay, and we can select here the view. We can select everything here that we want in the default dataset. So we have control of the default dataset from this point of view. However, later in the dataset, we don't have the modeling view, so we cannot adjust it. Even if the modeling is enabled, you cannot edit the data model in the default dataset. Okay, so you have to be careful of that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna create another dataset, a new dataset, and we're gonna select all of the tables as well. And you can see here that in the Lakehouse, I cannot select the view. All right, so this is an issue I found. Anyways, the view is not available, so I have to use the default data set, which is no problem. Okay, we will just use the default data set, but I'm going to create this data set anyways, because I want to show you that we are using the direct lake connection. Okay, and I can check this because if I create a new data set, I can have a look at the modeling view, and in the modeling view I can confirm that it is a direct lake connection. Okay, so let's click confirm. This will open a new window and it will lead me to the data set, and you can see here that I have the modeling view available. And if I now click on one of these tables and I go to advanced, you can see here that we have the direct lake mode available. Okay, and we can create new measures here. The only reason we're not going to do it in this data set for the Lakehouse connection is because I cannot add the view here. Okay, so we're going to go back to the Lakehouse and we're going to be using the default data set, but we're not going to do that now with Power BI. We're going to wait a little bit. So let me go back to the workspace. I'm going to go back to the workspace, the Contoso demo workspace, and now we have to start filtering, all right, because there's already a lot of stuff. So let's go back to the data pipeline. Let's click on it. Let's see how far that is. And we can see that we have success in many of them, and the two big ones are still in progress. All right, so we're just gonna wait for that to finish, and that we're gonna continue with the warehouse. We're gonna also create the view in the warehouse, and then we're gonna in the warehouse create the default data set as well, and we're gonna create a data set. We're gonna see if we can create the view there. We can. And then we're gonna compare, we're gonna create the Power BI reports and we're gonna compare. All right, so I'm gonna pause the recording again until this is finished, and then I'm gonna continue. Okay, so all the entire action was successful, the activity. Everything succeeded. If something doesn't succeed, I'm not sure, like you would have to trace which one, and then you would have to do a new pipeline and do that one individually, because I don't know how to run things individually here in the pipeline. I haven't figured out that yet. Even if you have multiple copy data activities, I haven't figured out how to run one individually. But anyways, this ran successfully. So let's go back to the demo workspace and let's filter to the warehouse. Let's go to the warehouse and let's have a look if the tables successfully were successfully imported. And yes, we can see them. That's perfect. And now what's left is, so yeah, we can see the tables. It looks fine. Everything was successful. We can have a look at the order details as well if we want. Okay, here it's a bit faster. So the profit margin, everything is here. Perfect. What I want now is also to create a view. Okay, so we're gonna create a view here, and this one we can just delete, and I'm gonna copy. Unable to save. Okay, no problem. I'm gonna copy paste the query from before, and I'm gonna take the order details table again. I can just drag and drop and it will automatically create the naming for me. All right. And then I could rename this and create view if I wanted. Yeah. To work more better. Okay, and let's run this. Okay, success. And let's refresh the warehouse. This will be loading a bit, and let's, okay, and we can see that we have the view. Perfect. And we have the view here, and oh, sorry, I'm not at the view. Let me click on the view. Okay, this time it's taking a bit longer to load because it's sending the entire query. So I think this could be a reason why the views are also slower than the tables if you query them directly in Power BI, because I think this is also what's happening every time you query it, and that's probably why the measure will take longer. So I'm gonna let this load and I'm gonna continue recording once it's finished. Oh no, wait, it's finished now. Okay, perfect. So there we have the profit category. Perfect. It took 38 seconds to calculate this, so that's not bad. We have the product category. Perfect. Sorry, the profit category, the profit margin, total revenue, and so on. Everything that we need for our Power BI report. The only thing missing now is in the tables, I want a new table called measures. So we can just click next to tables, we can just click on the ellipsis and we click new table, and we're gonna name this measures. All right, and we have a column 1. We can just leave this and we can run this, and it's going to create a table for us. So let's refresh this. Oops. Okay, we get an error message sometimes, so let me reload the page. I'm getting a prompt, so no problem. Reload the page. Sometimes this happens, and all I usually had to do was to reload the page, and then I could refresh it again. Okay, so let me try and fix this bug and get back. Okay, so the error message said that the name measures is a reserved name. Okay, so that's good to know, because if it wouldn't tell me this anyways, then Power BI would tell me this already. Okay, so we're going to write Contoso underscore measures, and we're gonna run this, and then we're gonna drop table the one I created earlier, which is called measures. Oops, drop table, I don't need this. And I can run this. And now the other table is dropped, so the error should be fixed. if you encounter this, you can debug it like this, and I should be able to refresh this now. Okay, it already refreshed, but I can refresh it again, and now it works with no problem. Okay, so now I have the Contoso measures table, and it's a blank table. Perfect. We have no more arrows. We can go back and rename this. Oh no, we don't. We can just delete this query. We don't need it anymore. Why not? Because now it's nice and organized. All right. So the Contoso measures table, we have it now in the warehouse, but it's missing in the Lakehouse. So now we're gonna use the warehouse to copy it back into the Lakehouse. All right. So let's go and create a. Let's go to the workspace. Oh, sorry, my bad. Let's go up here and go to the workspace. And let's create a new show all, again, a new pipeline. So we're going to copy some data. I'm going to call it data pipeline. Click on data pipeline. This should, if I'm patient, it will give me a pop-up. So I'm going to call this copy measures table from warehouse to Lakehouse. Okay, and pipeline. Okay, this is better naming than I did previously, so it's always nice to have the name of what it is in the front of the to have the description of what it is in the front of the name, I find, so it's easy to find it in the workspace. All right, now we're gonna copy data, so we can just use this time we can just use the add to canvas, the single copy option. We don't have to name it specifically, it doesn't matter. We're going to go to workspace and we're gonna choose the warehouse, and in the warehouse we're going to choose the Contoso demo warehouse, the one that we want, and we want a table. So now it's going to load the tables. If you don't see them, just click refresh. But now I can see DBO Contoso measures, and I can click edit, and I can rename this if I want. Sorry, I can edit this myself, but I'm not going to. If for example, if you click edit and you write the name of a table that isn't there yet, you can do that. Otherwise, here you can select the one that already exists. So let's go to destination, and here we select the Lakehouse. It's already selected, and let's go to the Contoso demo Lakehouse, and in the tables we have tables as well, and we don't have a table to update, right? So we can click edit. If we click edit, we can define a new table name, and here sorry about that pop-up, it keeps coming. In the table name we're gonna call this Contoso measures. Okay, and this should be fine. This should work. This should create a new table. And let's go to the mapping, the settings, and let's validate this. It's been validated. Okay, perfect. So on the right here we can see it's validated. So let's run it. Save and run, yes. And if we click on the canvas, we can see the output, the activity. And if we have refresh, I can see that it's queued. And this one should be fast because it's an empty table, so it's in progress. Let's see if this one runs successfully as well. I'm gonna keep refreshing, and it succeeded. So we can go back now to the workspace, and let's check the Lakehouse. So let's go back and filter to Lakehouse, and let's go to the demo Lakehouse. Let's have a look if the measures table is here. And we can see, yes, it's good. There's something undefined. So let's refresh this as always. And it's still undefined. So let's give this some time. This usually takes a second. Okay, so now I refreshed, it worked. And we can see here we have an empty table that's called Contoso measures. Okay, and we have this available in the SQL endpoint as well. if we go there. But so if I go to the SQL endpoint and let's wait for it to load, and I go on reporting and I click on manage default Power BI dataset, I can see that by default it's already selected the Contoso measures table. Okay, so that's it for the warehouse and the lakehouse. The only thing left for the the only thing left for the warehouse is to create that data set. So let's go to the warehouse. Let's click on it. And I wanted originally, oh yes, we also have to model it. I originally wanted to create only views for the warehouse, but I actually found that the data loads faster if I use the tables directly, if I don't have a view that has a query. So for this, I know I did it in the beginning of the video, but for best practice, I reckon, so we're gonna test it out with the view that's there, but for best practice, I reckon we should actually stick to the tables and then maybe find another way of doing it. But you have to create views, right? To create aggregated views and stuff like this. Of course, you're gonna use them. It's really important. But for the purpose of this video, we're just going to create one view. I'm not going to create other views that are just going to be select all from all the other tables. All right, so let's click on model. And I'm going to warn you again, the modeling experience in the warehouse is a bit difficult. So let's connect orders with order details. Let's click that. Let's confirm this. And now I should also have to wait, because look what happens now if I move this. So I'm going to show you. If I connect product key with order details from product key and I click confirm, okay, it worked. That's, I guess, that when you try to show it, it just works perfect. So I guess the experience got better, right? Everything is being updated all the time. So maybe from, yeah, anyways. So the order key we connect with the same as in the Lakehouse, all right? The same schema. So order key from the aggregated view with order key. We click confirm. Perfect. And then we have the store. And for the store, we use, we have the store. Let's put it on the right. Why not? The store key with the store key from the orders. Click confirm. Okay, this is a very nice modeling experience. Nothing compared to last time. So maybe last time there was something wrong with my model. Anyways, let's go to customer. Let's connect customer key with customer key from orders as well. Let's click confirm. Let's zoom out a bit and let's do the same thing we did last time. Let's model this properly. So store on the right, customer on the left, aggregated view at the bottom, order details, order details on the left, customer on the bottom right. Doesn't really matter. And then the product is next to orders. That's good. With geography, we're gonna hide this one again. So I'm just gonna click hide. So this is hidden. And then dates, I'm gonna zoom in again. Oh, wait, I'm gonna put, oops, here was a refresh. I'm gonna put currency and dates next to each other. And we're gonna zoom in. And I'm gonna connect the delivery date with the date. Click confirm. And then the order date with the date as well. And so this one cannot be active. And we're gonna make the other one inactive. Okay, so let's double click the other one that was active and let's make this inactive. That was the way I wanted it. And then we have currency. So again, where we have where we have currency code in the orders, let's connect that to from currency in the currency table. Let's click confirm. And now we have a nice star schema. Let's zoom out a bit. Perfect. And we have our Contoso measures table. All right. And the thing is, if I hide this column right now, it's going to also hide the table from the Contoso's measure. So don't do that. I know you're going to see a column, but in the Power BI model, you can hide that column once you add measures to it. All right. So as I mentioned earlier, you can create measures here. So I can create measures here. I can create a new measure, but we're not going to do that because I want to do it in Power BI. So we're going to stick with that. So let's click on Manage Default Dataset, and yeah, let's take out the geography. I don't want the geography table, and let's also let's get rid of that. So it's not in the default dataset. I don't want it. Oops, unable to sync. So if this happens, then refresh the page. Okay, this is what happened to me earlier. Okay, so I refresh the page. Let's try this again. Let's go to reporting, manage default dataset. Okay, and it's already hidden. So let's click cancel. That's perfect. And now I'm gonna create a new dataset, new Power BI dataset, and we're gonna select all the tables except geography. And we can see here that I can select the view, unlike in the Lakehouse. When I created a new dataset in the Lakehouse, wasn't able to select the view. Here I can, so that's nice. I'm gonna select it so we can actually work with Power BI datasets now, not just the default dataset. So this is great. I believe this is a nice way to distribute your data, to give a dataset to a data analyst, and they can create measures in the dataset if they want to, but they can also consume it. You can customize it more easily and have control of it. So here we have the Contoso demo warehouse 1, it's called. Okay, so it automatically renames this. So we're gonna call this Contoso demo warehouse, and we're gonna call it data set in the beginning. Okay, so we're gonna rename this. I didn't do this last time for the Lakehouse. I will go back and do it. And now we are going to have a look. If I click on orders, click on advanced. So let's click on advanced here. We can see that here we have the direct query connection. Okay, so in the other model, we have the direct lake connection. So let's just quickly clean up. Let's go back, and right now I'm happy with the warehouse. It's perfectly fine. So let's go back to the workspace and let's clean up the mess I created with the data set. So we have the Contoso demo Lakehouse dataset. I have to rename this. So I'm gonna click the ellipsis button, rename this, and this is dataset. And let's delete this. Let's save it. Perfect. And now everything is more or less cleaned up. And we have everything ready. So now it's time to hop over to Power BI Desktop to sign in. So you need Power BI Desktop for the next step. And you have to sign in with your with the same account you're logged in with in your workspace to be able to reach out to that workspace. Okay, so we're gonna hop over to Power BI Desktop. Okay, so we're in Power BI Desktop. I'm going to click on Get Data and then click More. And unfortunately, so So now we have to wait a second for the pop-up window to come. But there will be the option to choose Microsoft Fabric. And if I click now Microsoft Fabric Preview, you can see that I can select the Lakehouse. For me, I didn't manage to see any data. I didn't manage to connect to the Lakehouse this way. So I chose the dataset, the Power BI dataset connect. And I click connect. So this, you can do this as well. And I endorsed. So this is something you can do too, because I have a lot of content. I endorsed the one I created earlier. So the Contoso demo Lakehouse. You have to make sure that you're using the default data set, okay, and not the one we created. And this is why I endorsed it, to be able to tell them apart. All right, and now we can see we have the measures, we have the aggregated view, we have everything. And if we click in the modeling view, we can see that if we zoom out a bit, that we have our nice star schema. All right, this looks very nice. Okay, perfect. So we can go ahead and create our measures. So what we have here, we have column 1. Okay, so I'm gonna create the first measure. So the first measure is going to be a simple count rows. Okay, so number of rows, order details, or view, and we're gonna go calculate count. Oops, sorry, this is happening to me lately with the Alt button. Count rows. Okay, and now we just need write the table name. So I'm just gonna write view for the aggregated view, and then we close the bracket, we click enter, and we close the bracket again. This should give us the view count. So we can create a card if we want. So I created a card, right? I clicked here on the card and I created this card, and we can drag and drop this measure in here, and we can see how many rows we have. Okay, so let's click on it and let's format this. Let's make this a whole number, and I want decimal places. Okay, so we have 225 million rows. Now, of course, when you do this, you don't have to select the big data set that I made available in the GitHub, that is available through the description link. But I did it to test it out, so that's why. So let's go back to our modeling view and let's see if we can hide that column 1. Let's click hide here. So I'm gonna let me zoom in. We have the measures, and I'm gonna click hide. Oh, and I cannot edit this. Okay, so this is the problem. This is we cannot edit the we cannot edit the tables in this mode, but we're gonna have a look at the workaround later. Okay, so let's stick to this. We have our measure. Perfect. Now I want a lookup value on a specific. I want to test if I can do a lookup value on a large data set with a direct lake connection, and I'm gonna just quickly copy paste this this DAX. Okay, so I'm gonna click on new measure, and I'm gonna copy paste this. Now you can see that this is not formatted. I didn't format this. It's okay. And so lookup order detail, and this is not right. This is lookup order view. I'm just gonna call this lookup view. Click enter, and then we're gonna copy paste this card, and we're gonna drag and drop. We're gonna delete the item that's in the card from before, and we're gonna drag and drop the lookup view, and we should get 0.54, which is the same as in the other one. So what we can do now is we can format this as a percentage. So we go here, we click on it, we get the measure tools, then we can format it as a percentage. And now in the title, we could, let's just put this, we could add a title and a subtitle as well, actually. So let's, anyways, this is, it doesn't work right now, but if the we can create a title and say what we're looking up, but we're just gonna skip this for now. It doesn't make much difference. We want the lookup view to be able to work on so many rows of data, so that works. That's perfect. And now we're going to create 3 more measures. I'm going to copy paste them as well. Okay, so we're first I'm gonna click on create new measure again. So I click on new measure and I copy paste what I had before in the other in the solution already. You can just use this. This is just, I'm counting the order key if the category, that is the computed column we created in the view, is low profit. All right. And if it is, then count and divide this by the total number, and then we have the percentage of the amount of its share. And we're going to do the same thing for the medium profit and the high profit category. All right, so new measure again. And I'm gonna say medium profit, and I will go back and copy paste the one for the high profit margin. Right, so let's click new measure again, and let's copy paste the high profit margin, and we click OK. And now we should be able to create a bar chart, a column chart. So let's click a clustered column chart, and let's drag and drop the low profit margin into the y-axis. Then let's format this into a percentage, right? We have to make sure it's a percentage. Then the medium one right after it as well, let's format it as a percentage. And then the high profit, all right? And then as well, let's format that as a percentage. Okay, perfect. And I don't need this title, so I'm going to go to my settings, to general, and I'm going to turn the title off. Okay, and now I wait for it to load. This is going to take a little bit. I'm going to make this a little bit larger, put this in the middle. Okay, I'm not going to make these as neat as the other ones because we have the solution, we get the idea, but it works. So all that's left is to format this. You can add the data labels to see the percentage amount. You can get rid of the grid lines, maybe get rid of the y-axis title, put the legend to the bottom so that it looks like it's part of it, and center it. Maybe add some, you get the idea. You can do some stuff here, and this is now ready. This is the Direct Lake connection report, and we are going to save this as the Direct Lake connection report on our desktop. Okay, and once that's done, let's click new, control new, because we're going to create another report now. The same report. So now it's going to, my desktop is going to fire up Power BI desktop again. We're going to get we're going to create the warehouse report now. Okay, so I'm just going to wait for Power BI to start up. Okay, so we have Power BI desktop running. Let's close this pop-up window and let's click on Get Data and More. And let's wait for the pop-up window to come up. Perfect. Now we can go to Microsoft Fabric Preview. And for the warehouse, we can use the warehouse connection directly. So let's double click on warehouse. You can also use the default the default data set. But anyways, so I'm kind of confused here. The refresh times are weird, but I am, let me just figure out which one is the right one sec. Okay, so it can only be this one. So this is the Contoso demo warehouse one. I should have promoted this. I didn't promote this. So this is bad practice from my side. Let's click connect and see what we get. We should have everything available, I hope. Right, and yes, we have everything available. Okay, and we even have the geography available because we are not in the default data set. We are connected directly to the warehouse. Okay, so right now if we click here on order details, we can see that we don't have any options to create a table. We don't have anything to edit it. So what we're left with is the Contoso measures table and only being able to create measures, right? So also for this one, I'm going to create all the measures I created before, all right? So we're going to click on the Contoso measures table, go to new measure, and I'm gonna copy paste all the measures I created earlier in this report as well, okay? So I'm gonna pause the videos, I'm gonna create them, and I'm gonna continue recording after I'm done. Okay, so I'm done. So now I can go back to the initial report and I can just copy paste all 3 items because I copy pasted everything. Everything is identical. And I can just paste this here and it should work. Okay, it doesn't. So let's replace. Oh yeah, I'm missing this value. One sec. Okay, now I added this measure. I forgot to add one measure, so I just copy pasted it. So this should work fine. Let's see if the table connection is fine, and then we're also gonna save this. Okay, this works fine. Now I need to, of course, format this as well. I'm gonna format the measures, the low profit as well, and then the high profit as well. Okay, and then the number of the lookup value is also a percentage, so let's also make this a percentage. Perfect. And now we can also save this report. Okay, this is the warehouse report. We're also going to save this locally. Okay, so now that it's saved, let's publish these. So we have both reports. So I'm going to go back to the Lakehouse report here. Up here we can see it's the Lakehouse demo report. And let's go to the home ribbon and let's click publish. All right, and here we are going to use the Contoso demo workspace. Select it, and it's going to publish, and it's gonna be quick because it's a light report, right? We don't have much data in it. It's a direct query connection. It's a direct lake connection. So let's click got it, and let's go to the warehouse report and let's publish this one as well. I'm going to click publish. We're also going to choose the Contoso workspace. I'm going to click publish, and this one was quick as well, so success. So let's go back to the service, to the fabric in the browser view, and let's have a look, and we should see both new reports, right? And we have both reports here now. Perfect. So this works. We can have a look at them if we want. So we can open them up and load them and have a look at what we have. Okay, perfect. And then we have the, okay, you can see the warehouse one, I loaded it. And then we have the Lakehouse one loading right now. Okay, so this is pretty nice. I don't need to wait for it to load because, well, we could, but it works, it's fine. What I want to do now is to go back to Power BI. Okay, so you see it loaded. So we go back to Power BI desktop, and we open up the Contoso warehouse report, all right? Not the Lakehouse report, but the warehouse report. And then we save this as, we save this as a new report. We save this, we rename this. So we rename it to Contoso warehouse calculated column report, okay? Okay, so you can see now I saved this up here as a new report. And we can see also that we are, so it doesn't show up the storage mode, but we are directly connected to the warehouse, all right? And as you can see here, if I click on order details, I cannot create a table, nothing, right? But what we can do from here is we can click on transform data, and it's going to ask us if we want to, a direct query connection is required, and if we want to add a local model. So let's click add a local model, and now it's going to give us a pop-up window. It's going to ask us what tables and views we want from the warehouse. So we're going to select everything except the geography table, and we're going to click submit. And once this happened, we're going to get the edit query pop-up, right? Now there's not going to be anything inside that edit query pop-up, that query editor. So we get a pop-up, okay, some measure properties have changed, that's fine, or may have changed. And right now, so we get the pop-up of the query editor. It's going to be empty. There's nothing in here, right? So we just click close and apply. So let's close. Once this is loaded, let's click close and apply, okay? So it will close up. But what we can do now is if I click order details now, I have the capability to add a new column or even a new table. I can create field parameters, I can go to modeling, add field parameters, I can do anything now, right? So what I'm going to test out, I want to compare the view query versus a query where I use the order details to group the data by profit margin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a calculated column here. So I'm going to click anywhere in the table. I'm going to click on new column. So the column tools pop up. New column. I'm going to copy paste a code I have. You can just copy this. This is a switch statement. And it's going to categorize the profit margin into either low, medium, or high profit. And it should work. Okay, it worked. That's fine. So we have to create 3 more measures that are going to use that calculated column. So the same thing. So let's just copy paste the high profit one. We're going to copy paste this, create a new measure. And for this one, we're going to call it high profit margin. We're going to call it CC for calculated column, high profit margin. And we're going to use the order key from the order details table. And we're going to copy this and we're going to paste it below in the 2 slots. Perfect. And now we need the profit category. So we just go order details profit category and we have the high profit. So we're going to copy paste this code and we're going to click new measure. Let's see if this works. This should work. Okay, it's working on it, so just give it a moment. This is now the machine working. Not in the Power BI service anymore, so you sometimes have to be a bit patient with it. So now we want the medium profit, so let's just replace high with medium, and let's click new measure again. We're just going to repeat the process one more time. And for the new measure, we want the low profit and low profit. Okay, and let's click enter. Let's press enter. And we should now, if I get rid of the cards, so we don't need them anymore, I just want to compare the speed. I'm going to copy paste this. I want to compare the speed of the view versus the speed of the calculated column. So I'm going to go low, medium, high, and I need to format these as a percentage. So percentage and percentage, and the next one as well as a percentage. Okay, so let's have a look, and we have the same result. Okay, and this loaded pretty quickly. So let's publish this to the service and let's have a look how fast it is there. So let's save the changes and let's publish it to the Contoso, to the Contoso demo workspace. Select and let's have a look how quickly this is. And yep, it's also very quick. Okay, so let's open up the service. Okay, I'm in Fabric right now, and as you can see, we have a new calculated column. Wait, I'm gonna remove the one I had previously because I did one where I did a mistake, so I did another one. So this one right here is the correct one. If we click on it, let's see how quick it is. So we're comparing the calculated column on the right hand side. Oh, sorry, I deleted the wrong one. So let me get back and publish the right one again. Okay, so I republished, and now we have the Contoso calculated column, and let's click on it and see how fast it is. And on the right hand side, we have the calculated column query, and look how fast that was compared to the left hand side, where we are using the view to query the data and to do the calculated value, right? So this is a workaround you can use. And yeah, it works. It works. Everything works fine. And yeah, so please subscribe to stay up to date, and make sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on any new releases of tutorials I will be making. And thank you very much for watching. I hope this helped you. I hope you were able to build the solution as well if you decided to build it. And I hope to see you in the next tutorial. So thank you very much for watching.